106 miles Chicago, gotta there fall down. Come on, my brother, you want my long. 106 miles, baby. I hope you got some stories to tell. 106 miles.
Nice.
Yo.
Sorry.
Yo, it's your boy Alfie King. How's it going? Come in. Get comfortable. I don't know if I'm looking at the camera or speaking into the microphone. I'm back here with my guest, Andrea, the very special guest.
Whoa.
So special, she's the only guest so far. But with the COVID rules, we will be getting some more people on. But how are you doing? Not that I wouldn't want you on. Obviously, I would dig in a hole.
You're on thin ice.
If you go, no, what did Joey Diaz say? If you're going to be on thin ice, you might as well dance. Doesn't apply here.
Does not, no.
No, okay. How you been doing?
Been doing all right. Apocalypse notwithstanding, yeah.
I was saying before that, so with me, I do a very social job in sales. I'm on the phone all the time and I'm talking to people, as people can probably tell. And I very much reacclimatized to life, kind of post-lockdown isolation style. How, and like I was saying before, I went to the pub on Thursday for beers, but beers with like a small beer, like beers, because I only had one beer because we're responsible driving. And when I had a beer, when I went out on Mingle Bob and got drunk with the guys last time, that's actually the actual name. I went to Google Maps, actually called Mingle Bob, which is mad.
That's fucking weird.
Right. Little shout out to Big K there, just to let you know that is a real thing. And I had a hangover for 2 days for smoking half a pack of cigarettes and having 4 ciders, like baby ciders. What?
Nothing.
I'm not old. This week I went to the gym. Getting the strength back. Anywho, and last night we went out and ventured to the outside pub. I don't know what's the pub called. What's the pub called?
Belgian Monk.
Belgian Monk. Highly recommend it. It's full of monkey goodness. Like
Belgian
lots
beers.
lots of Belgian beers, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And we had a grand old time. We sat outside and had to kind of wait for a blanket.
Yep.
And had a grand old time. How have you been with lockdown and stuff? Did you, after going out last night, were you kind of like, oh, I needed to do that, or?
I was kind of wired. It was very exciting seeing new faces. I was like, oh, people. Oh, those people are on like a first kind of COVID day. Oh, and like, it was very exciting. It was just fun to people watch.
Mm-hmm. And let's just break it down. So we had like, so we were kind of like the couple that had just been out forever and we're bored of each other, so we looked over. No, the couple that had been going out for ages and were very comfortable, and like we were sharing. Obviously, come in, get comfortable, and we were sharing a blanket, and we were all very chill. Where you could tell that most of the other people, apart from Mary and fucking the old guy in the corner. So I like to play a game when I go out, which is let's look at all the other people and imagine life that they have. And there was this old couple in the back corner going out to enjoy a distanced beer. But they like racked them up straight off the bat. They had 4 beers.
Yeah, they had 4 pints just laid in front of them. And also, they finished their 4 pints between the 2 of them before we finished our 1 drink.
And you had to tell me to like finish it off because they were ending the night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had a little glass of wine because I'm sophisticated like that. And I'm healthy now, so, you know, wine. And it tastes like shit, if I'm honest. But it was really expensive and organic. It didn't taste like shit. It just tastes like very, very...
Tasted very red.
Very red. And I used to like very red wine. But I think because I don't smoke anymore, maybe my taste buds are coming back a bit.
Yeah.
And
probably.
so those super bold, sharp flavours don't come through as much when you... I don't fucking clue. If somebody actually drinks one, they'll be like, you're full of shit. Like, but anyway. And then in front of us, we had...
First Date
McGee's. Fucking hell, that guy. I said either he's boring and she's bored, or he's boring and she's boring and she ain't trying. Because at least he's trying.
Yeah.
But that, I don't think anybody was getting any action for that after that one.
I don't think so.
But I think in these times, I think that people, if I was in the dating scene, I'd just bat a few up to warming up. Like, I'd go on a date, and if it went dog shit, then I'd just be like, it's warming up again to talking to people.
Yeah.
You know.
I definitely need warming up to talk to people.
Yep.
I haven't spoken to anyone for a long time.
And that was why we kind of... Well, I wanted to go out just for the sake of going out. Because like when I come up here, I think because I'm so tired after the week and work and trying the music and the podcast and all the other shit...
A little bit grouchy.
I'm not grouchy, just tired. Yeah, I'm a bit grouchy. That I thought it would be healthy for us to go out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we turned up at the pub, the bar lady was very like...
Efficient.
And very prudent of like, have you got the HS app? And HS2 app, the HS app.
NHS?
And we were just a bit like, ah! Like I didn't.
I was like, yes, I have that. Scan.
Yeah, and I was like, here's my name and number, because I haven't been anywhere where you can use that. And it was a bit intense. But once we were kind of sat down in our little area and all the rest of it, and we were people watching, and they had the fucking shots, the girls in the corner racking up them shots, I noticed there wasn't a lot of guys there.
I think there was a group of guys right in the back corner.
Yeah.
But we did see a lot of guys in like squads roving around the city.
Yeah, true.
So maybe they just weren't in that pub.
I'm just saying, I know they can't mix and mingle, but they're out there, man. The spring season's here.
It's the time of the season.
Hunting time. I mean, you know.
Dum, 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 tsh, tsh.
Very much so. And I think everybody's super keen to kind of crack on when the time comes. May 17th, whenever it is. So last night when we came home, I cooked you a fabulous dinner, may I say. Because we can't go out to restaurants, or like I saw some people who looked freezing eating like I think it was a Chinese we walked past.
Oh yeah.
It looked very, very
on the
nice.
street.
Yeah, but they looked fucking, and that woman looked fucking miserable. And she was like with the hoodie and the whole thing, and she was wrapped up really warm, and she looked fucking miserable.
Yep.
I thought that doesn't look like fun, so let's use the money that we would go for going out and spend it on something nice like a organic steak or something. So I did the best thing and cooked organic steak with fucking flexing here with some potatoes and broccoli, because my girl deserves the best. So Andrea, I was worried when we first started going out that you'd think that I'm crazy, because I'll do things like get up super early, try and do things that lots of people don't do, and most people think that's weird, but I think you get to a stage in life where you don't care what other people think anymore, and you just do your weird shit.
Yeah.
So this week the gym opened, and it was kind of trying to reintroduce that back into my life, which is pretty full on. You kind of get this like, because you don't have time to facilitate that part of life as much, or you're not into it as much, I'd say. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the whole fitness thing. So like after the first day back at the gym, I had a lot of like, I can't move my arms, cause but I knew that was going to happen. And after the first day, I kind of felt a bit sick, but I didn't like, there were days where I'm like, I'm going to shit myself. And you're like, real bad. Yeah, it's not good. But it's your body going into shock, and you're probably pushing it too much. But I think it's such the way when you're a bullheaded old person like me. But we kind of, I had the same kind of strength than I did during lockdown. So my strength was a lot higher before lockdown, and then it kind of dropped, and then it's kind of, I've managed to keep it, but I haven't got the same stamina.
Yeah.
But it was good. So like I said, this week we're going to keep a chart of things we got done. I haven't done the chart yet, but I'm just going to say some times. So originally I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to go to bed at 9 and get up at... It seems like I can't keep all the plates spinning. It's either...
Well, it's because you're always spinning more and more plates.
More plates. So for instance, this week, let's have a look. So Monday, got up at 5:15, but I went to the gym.
Yeah.
And then was just about in time for work because I didn't know what was going on. Can you get a shower? Can you not? So people know you can't shower. The sauna isn't open yet if you have a sauna. And but it's kind of, in my gym at least, you don't have to wear a mask. Where the gym I went to here, because I didn't do Friday, I ended up working out on Saturday, you had to wear a mask in between sections. So take a little mask with you for the communal areas. And then I went to bed at like 10 o'clock because I was trying to write music, I think, that night. Oh no, apologies, sorry. Then I went to bed on time on Monday, and then Tuesday I got up super late because I was fucking knackered because my body was like, what the shit just happened to us? And then it was the fucking last day of the podcast. So last week, I said I wanted to edit and do the podcast in the weekend. And I did that last week, and I was super happy with myself. But then I didn't have the song written because I wanted to write a song for every podcast. So that kind of dragged on. And Tuesday, I ended up on the drive home, parking up and charging, and then writing the song that was at the end of last week in like an hour session or whatever. And that was really frustrating because not only are you trying to write a song, you're trying to then remember a song enough to sing it, to record it. And it's just a lot to take in your brain when you like.
Yeah.
I'm not the fucking best at remembering words at the best times in songs, so it was just a bit mad. So I'm going to try and do better this week, and on the way home today, try and write the song to get it recorded to put at the end of this episode, get it all edited, so then it's done.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it just fucks my week up. Because then, Wednesday, we finally got it uploaded. Wednesday, I got up at 5:45 because we went back to the gym again, so I kind of missed that morning section that I want to try and work in. And then went to bed super late Wednesday. Oh shit, no, that was when I was uploading the podcast. Sorry, man, I'm all over the place with this one. And then Thursday, got up at 7:30, went to bed at 11:10, because I went to the pub. And it's kind of like, although I got all the gyms done, and then Friday I got up at 7:30 and fucking went to bed when I got here, midnight, whenever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I got all the gyms done, I got the podcast done, I wrote the song, but then I didn't get up and keep my routine and get like the studying that I want to get done on the book I'm reading, or like any other writing stuff that I want to get done. So it's like, I got the lion's share of the things I wanted to achieve done, but I kind of just about did it because I was fucking exhausted. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you're doing a lot, like a lot of creative stuff, and you're putting you've got a really high standard for what you want to achieve. So you probably just balance it out more once your body's used to going to the gym again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like I say, when you have the whole thing where you're like, okay, move my arms, that goes away after a while, and you get into the routine more. And when they open the showers and stuff like that, I can just shower and go to fucking work, and it will become a lot more streamlined. But again, it was kind of like with Pete and Lou and my mates and going to the pub, it's hard to get all our schedules to meet up. So I always jump at any chance I can because I really like seeing them. But then that kind of throws off other things. So you got to choose. But I mean, I know I can't live like a monk all the time because I won't have time for any friends or like seeing you, or do you know what I mean? But at the same time, that kind of works as my R&R. But anyway, so I got one session of the book writing this week. The book writing was dog shit. I was so happy last week. I was like, I'm the shit, because I did loads of book writing. But I only got one section in this week. But I kind of wrote around a big plot hole that didn't make any sense, by turning one of the other characters into a dog in a former life, which...
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that bit. But I thought when you were telling me about it, I thought you were writing a sea shanty about... and I got really excited. So what I'm saying is, I think you should write at least one sea shanty just for me, because they're great.
Maybe. Maybe one day.
Okay.
One day you get sea
I
shanty.
feel like a song about a dog that used to be a captain of a ship would be amazing.
No,
or is that not how it
that's
works?
not how it works.
I was listening at the time, but it's been a few days since you
So the
explained
whole thing is that there's a character in this book who's kind of like Gatsby.
Yep.
But he doesn't. It's not the same storyline as Gatsby. But he's kind of a rich.
And they're looking at a painting.
Yeah, and basically the main character, who's the jazz trumpet player guy, it kind of, because I was saying we mix these two worlds together with the kind of crazy esoteric and the real, and I was saying about two realities that run at two different speeds. The Gatsby and the main character from this other reality, but they're living in our reality.
Yep.
And the main character doesn't realise this because he was split up when he was a child from that reality. But Gatsby knows.
Yeah.
And then because the whole thing is, it's like, you know, and you get all these kind of myths of like witches and wizards and like dragons and shit like that and ghosts and all that, like, living former lives and all that kind of stuff. In the other reality, they all know it's true. And then you get these people who jump realities who then pass those tales on. But that's why in real life you never get to see the fairies, or you never get to see... But you have all these stories from... Do you know what I mean? It's that, like, that's how it kind of works. So Gatsby's taken the trumpet player. So the trumpet player kind of passes over to this other reality briefly, through smoking some wild cigarette that's full of drugs, but also kind of transports him. And then he stays at Gatsby's for the night. He has got a proper name, but for want of a better description. And as he's walking up the staircase, there are all these pictures on the wall. And he's like... There's pictures of, like all around the world, like... I don't know, just all different kind of walks of life people. And one of them's like a dog in front of a sailing ship. And he says to Gatsby walking up these stairs, he's like, what the fuck are all these oil paintings? Because it's obviously in a part of the house that isn't... It's like you get the main library, his private library. And then he does this whole speech about how he loves books because they...
Books are great.
because they save time. You can live someone else's life very quickly because the other realities, it's all about time and moving of time. That's why these people move through the different dimensions. And I hope you're not too bored there. And
No, I'm listening.
so he's looking at all these paintings as he walks up the stairs, and he says like, "Oh, what the fuck are all these paintings doing?" Because it's obviously in his like private quarters. And he was saying, "Oh, they're just inspirational figures to me of people throughout time." And then he's like, "What? Even the dog on the front of the boat, and is an inspirational figure." And then
Dogs are inspirational.
and anyway, then he sleeps there for the night and blah 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 because there's a bedroom at the top of this library, and this staircase. And then the next morning he hears Gatsby singing like this fucking Welsh fisherman's song or whatever at full speed, and he's got like a banging headache and is hungover, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And they kind of go outside and they have a chat, and there's other bits in the book that get disclosed during that chat. But then because Gatsby keeps trying to feed him like riddles, the main guy just gets really fucking annoyed, and he's like, "Fuck this, fuck you, I'm out of it." And then as he leaves, there's kind of this breaking moment where he's like, "I tried to save him," and he's like, "What the fuck are you on about?" And he's like, "I tried to save him, but I couldn't." And he's like, "What are you on about?" Because you get told earlier on when he's walking up the stairs about this dog, and basically it's that there was this ship that always went out, and he says to him like, the way I wrote it, it was something like, he always loved singing, and like, no, when they sang, it was always my favourite part, and you kind of write it as if you're a person. He was like, but every time I sang, it always came out funny, and like, but whenever we went out on the boat and everybody sang, it was always my favourite bit, and the captain always sang loudest. And the whole thing is, he was a dog, so he was barking because he couldn't sing, so you kind of drop these little breadcrumbs. And then he's like, "I tried to save him," and the story is that the boat capsized, and the dog went out and grabbed each one individually and dragged them in, but then the captain was the last one, and the dog was too tired. And then, so the dog and the captain were both exhausted, and then they both died, and they sank. And he was like, "I tried to save them, I tried, but I was just too tired." And then it went dark. So then it kind of makes it obvious that all these people on the staircase are his past lives. But in this other reality, they're more in tune with the esoteric or whatever, and they know their past lives. So it's that kind of, and that's the first time he gets exposed to that alternate reality. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I still think there should be a song.
Maybe in the movie there would be a song because the Gatsby dude's singing it when he's listening to the record player, and that was his favourite song. He says that's the
You
captain's
should
favourite
write
song.
the song to be in the book.
Oh, fucking hell. I'm already writing a book.
Yeah, but you're already writing songs as well. Just saying.
So anyway, that's my book action. As far as everything else and things, it's like I'm just chomping at the bit for restrictions to be lifted so I can interview Pete and Louis and other people and
sauna.
And sauna. Fuck me. Like for me, like I say, addictive personality and all the rest of it. Saunaing is like the only thing I can do where I get a buzz and I feel good and it's not bad for me. So I really, really like it. And the first thing I did when I went in the gym was go and check the sauna just to make sure they didn't like brick it up.
Sex does that too, and that's not bad for you.
So the sauna's opening.
I've never been in the sauna.
You're missing out. It's just like...
It does sound very exciting.
Oh, it's great. The endorphins you get afterwards and like glugging cold water, and it's just the fucking best thing in the world. But anyway, yeah, I definitely... and there's another thing I've found out about. Hyperbaric chamber. Have you ever heard of that?
Vaguely.
So, I think it's actually... I think it might be for people with... I think it's the same thing as the iron lung, so people that suffer with polio might have to go in it. I'm really sorry for butchering that, that's wrong. But anyway, there's an alternative use for this, and it's basically it like either makes the oxygen in your the bubbles in your oxygen smaller or bigger, and it goes to like, if you have bad circulation, it like gets through to all those areas.
Right.
And it like revitalizes you and is like really, 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 really good for you, and like brain function and brain stimulation, and like it's really good, and like top athletes do it, and I'd
To
really
help oxygen
flow throughout the body. Yeah, it like super pressurizes the cabin that you're in, and then that makes the, I don't know, but people go in there for like a couple of hours. So I would really love to give that a go and see how that.
This isn't the same as the weird floating in water in the dark thing.
No, that was my next thing. The isolation tank, unagi, salmon skin roll. I would love to try that as well.
I think. Yeah, it's supposed to give you like a weird out-of-body experience.
Especially if you get stoned before. And do you know the guy that invented it did it to communicate with aliens? That's what he designed it for.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think there's definitely a thing to be said for like medical rooms. I think if I ever get to a point in life where I own a property that I can put things in, I'll definitely like a sauna, a hyperbaric chamber, and like a float tank.
Okay. Okay, hyperbaric. It's hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
1 second. Andrea's fact section.
Sorry.
Bring in the facts. Don't let me talk bullshit.
I love your bullshit.
Okay, fuck me, this podcast is killing me. So we've had either a battery die or a thing die, or some would say I should be more prepared. Anyway, we're going to cut to Andrew's facts now on the fact of hyperbaric chambers, because no, it does not. It is not an iron lung, and I like the fact that you're now slowly becoming my Jamie, where I can be like, pull that shit up, Jamie.
Hello, Jimmy. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy involves breathing pure oxygen in a pressurized environment. So you were right. I think it is a well-established treatment for decompression sickness. So when you get the bends from scuba diving, coming up too fast. Why it's done? So it's really good for, or it might be suggested for you for severe anemia, brain abscesses, bubbles of air in your blood, like you were talking about, burns, carbon monoxide poisoning, crushing, deafness, decompression sickness, gangrene, radiation injuries, traumatic brain injuries. Potential risks, eardrum rupture, temporary nearsightedness, lung collapse, seizures as a result of too much oxygen in your nervous system, lowered blood sugar for diabetics, and in certain circumstances, fire.
I mean, but the first two, the nearsightedness and deafness, I'm kind of halfway there anyway.
That's true. So, should you really risk them getting worse?
The thing is, they put LeBron in one.
All right.
And if they put LeBron in one, then I think it's safe.
Okay. I mean, well, now you know the risks.
I'm
and one of them, certain circumstances, fire is a risk.
I just won't smoke in there.
That's good. Also, don't do anything that might create static electricity, because then the entire thing would burn.
No friction.
Yeah, no friction.
No jacking off in the tub.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom! Talking about friction, I'm still on this lightning water.
Woo-woo juice.
Woo-woo juice. Fuck coffee. I tell you now, if you ever thought about giving up coffee, give up coffee. Because I feel so much better.
Good.
And I tried to give it up. And this is another thing with addiction. When I say addiction, I always say addiction-like, because I've never actually had proper addiction. But when I've tried to give up cigarettes in the past, and when I tried to give up, well, I say give up cigarettes. Obviously, I had one now and then, so I haven't given it up. But or when I tried to give up caffeine, or just have a break from it, there were like different times. So I tried to give up caffeine before, had mad headaches and just couldn't do it, and just went back to drinking caffeine again. And I think that's fine. But there are certain times where you just get off at the right time, and for some reason it just pans out right, and you can stay off it.
Yeah, so, I think also you're very much like an all or nothing person.
Yeah.
So you're either drinking 3 litres of coffee a day. 3 pints? 3 pints of coffee a day. Or you're like, I'm never drinking coffee again, cold turkey, which is why you get really severe headaches.
And I found out that's because it's your brain chemistry changing, because you have all the receptors that are now, your brain's like, what the fuck?
It's also changing really, really abruptly, which is why you had like really horrible side effects, which is probably why you went back to caffeine to self-medicate.
Yeah, but I didn't this time.
No, you didn't. I'm just saying there's a middle way. You can wean yourself off something without being like,
yeah, man,
do or die.
Yeah, man.
But then
that's not the Alfie King way.
Yeah, he wouldn't be you. Sensible middle ground. Sensible option.
Ha. The only place for the middle is in politics.
Fucking century.
But anyway, anywho, yeah, I feel great, and I don't get headaches anymore. But
not nice, are they?
Nah, fuck that. So Andrea gets like proper headaches.
I do, yeah.
And I got like little headaches, and I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
My head hurts. Why? Why did it hurt? No, like.
Yeah. But now, like I said, it takes away the bullshit. If you're tired, you know you're tired. Mm-hmm. There's no, you've just got to be a grown up and be like, I need to sleep more. And then once I think it just takes away that mask, and you can just deal with how your body is. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I was worried that I was like, but what if I don't poop? Because I normally drink coffee and then it makes you poop, right? We're all grown ups in the room. And then
You'll still poop.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. Part of me was just like, is it going to fuck my stomach up? Is it going to whatever? And it took a while, but it all balanced out and it's all running, okay now.
Yeah.
So if you're on the fence about it, definitely try it because it's worth it. Just give up on like Friday so you have the weekend to have the headaches and just you're gonna need to sleep, or I fucking did, to start catching up with your sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really drink coffee that ever, really.
No. I mean, I'll still do it as a treat.
Little treat.
Little treat.
Little treat. A little bit of caffeine.
Like on a Saturday or, but I'm not...
I drink tea.
Yeah, you're a fucking madman for tea.
Yeah. But I think part of it is the ritual of making it and the habit. I could probably just switch to decaffeinated tea bags, but I'd probably still drink the same amount.
Yeah.
Like I do it when I need a break from writing. Like get up, leave the office, make some tea, come back, sit down, drink tea, process whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then do that constantly throughout the day. Also, I come from a household where my mum chain drinks tea, drinks it, and that comes from being a nurse for like 30 years, where you might not get a break for an entire 12-hour shift. So if you get a break, you chain drink like 3 cups of tea, and that's it. That's all you have time for.
And I think, again, that's the same as like when I worked in bars. Well, it's not the same, but it reminds me of when I worked in bars and...
I'll let her know that working in a bar is the same as working in intensive care. It's okay, I know what you meant.
And you would have people who smoked who were allowed to go out and have a smoking break. But then what about the people who don't fucking smoke?
Yeah.
Should they be allowed? And I think they were where I worked, if I remember rightly. But still, it was that whole kind of like, well, I'll smoke if I can. Because I knew other people that worked places where you couldn't.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I might as well fucking smoke then, because then I can go out for a break.
Yeah.
And again, it's the ritual of having a moment to yourself. That's why I used to love smoking, because you just be outside in nature, breathing some air, breathing some nicotine, blah, 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 boost your brain chemicals, you get a rest from what you're doing.
Yeah.
Apart from the cancer and imminent death, it's not the worst thing. Yeah. But...
so tricky to decide.
But you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, I do. And also, if you're on a night out with a group of friends and then suddenly everyone disappears to go and have a fag out the back, then I'd just be like, well, I obviously don't want to be here by myself, so go with them.
And like I said, when we went out on...
that's how you become a social smoker.
Thursday, yeah, and don't smoke kids, it's very bad for you. It will fucking kill you and it's very addictive.
It's very bad for you, don't do it.
So on Thursday when I was at the pub, I've had to say this like 5 times because I keep saying it wrong. Somebody had tobacco and I managed to get a cigarette off of them, and
they rolled you one.
Yeah, Pete rolled it. And it was strange because I smoked with Louis a few weeks before and was fine, but I didn't get a hit. Like it didn't do anything for me because it was so out of my system. Where I got a little bit of a taste for this one, but it was so potent because it was rolling backy, which is what I used to smoke anyway. But it was like trying to inhale it in my mouth. I was like, it was like too much. It was too potent. It was really weird. And the other thing that I know from when I used to wear a whoop strap is that nicotine fucks your sleep.
Yep.
Although you just go to sleep, your heart rate is elevated most of the night, or a good chunk of the night.
Yeah. Throws off your system.
Yeah, and I noticed that because the next day I can fix it with caffeine. But this is the life that people live. They smoke cigarettes, they don't sleep well, then they get up in the morning, drink some coffee, need to fucking get going, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine, and that's how I lived for 15 years, but...
I was in a bar once and I tried to bum a cigarette from someone because I was out with my female friend and she was like, oh, I really, really need a fag. And I was like, well, go and ask someone. And she was like, no, I can't ask strangers. I was like, fine, I'll do it. So I went up to these guys. I was like, can I bum a cigarette? Because they were smoking. And they're like, you're only a 3 out of 10.
No.
No. And I was like...
more like a 3,000. Sorry, gone.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so sad. I didn't realise men actually did that. You're so lucky. I've got a really robust sense of self and self-esteem. Oh, you enjoy yourself. And then I went to another group of guys who were like, I was like, can I bum a cigarette? I mean, I asked those guys, but they said I was only 3 out of 10. And they're like, oh my God, I got to beat them up. I'm like, well, could I just have a cigarette?
And this is what starts wars. No, sorry, go on.
They started it. I merely retaliated. Mm-hmm. I know. How rude is that?
Did you get a cigarette in the end?
Obviously.
Good.
Several.
Jesus, there's people running up and just giving you cigarettes.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I've been that guy though, and you got to be careful because I remember I was in a really fucking divey bar in Oxford once, and somebody came up to me like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I was just like, "For fuck's sake!" And I gave somebody, I was like, "Yeah, fine." I gave them a cigarette. I said they were a 3 out of 10, but
to their face.
No, fucking, I'd never do that.
No, because it's horrible.
But or like, I just never think like that. I'll just be like, "Oh, you want a cigarette? Here's a cigarette." But anyway, and at that point, I was like, "Fine." But it was then subsequently somebody saw me and came up and was like, can I have it? And I was like, mate, fuck off. You just see me give somebody else one. So
Yeah.
you think you can fucking lich one? Go fuck yourself. It's a different dynamic, you know. But anyway.
It was a big group of them. Like, they were all had that, like, I wasn't just asking, like, one specific person.
Yeah, and I remember I was on the smoking area on my own and I was a bit like, come on. But anyway, it's just interesting to see how your body changes because I used to smoke like a fair bit and all the rest of it. Anyway, by the by. So today is going to be the first day that I'm going to try and edit the podcast, write the song today, and do a proper plan.
I thought you were going to say write a play, and I was like...
And write a play. I'm going to write a play. No.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day.
And try and see if I can stick to the plan. Because last week I was like, we're going to have to start logging like what I'm doing. And that's what I kind of did this week. We're logging my sleep times.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wow, I'm really fucking out this week. But you have good weeks and bad weeks. And like I say, the plan is to kind of write a song every week on the podcast and then have like a batch of songs to then go and... So then hopefully everyone can kind of see how songs start. Because one thing for me is always... This is why it makes me... Well, I find it interesting because I talk to Pete and I'll bring this up with him when I do talk to him eventually on the podcast. And it's that Pete doesn't really enjoy live recordings because it's not the artist's view of what they wanted the song to be in the studio. Yeah, it's just a live performance of it. And I mean, he can speak for himself when he comes on it. And I get what you're saying. But for me, I love the acoustic. I love the live performance because when you listen to an album as a songwriter, you're like, how the fuck am I ever going to write that? Like, it sounds too big and too complex and there's too much going on. But the other thing is that artist might not have written that. It might have been the producer sat next to him who then put layers on it and took the original song. But when you see it live, you're like, oh, I get, because you can literally see there's not a million guitar tracks, there's not a million effects. It's like there's two guitarists or three guitarists and a bass player. And,
it seems manageable.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I think isn't necessarily what I set out to do, but I think is good, where people can be like, oh, this is the song when he started writing on an acoustic guitar and it sounded like this, and then it went on to be this. Do you know what I mean? On the album, or electric, or like how somebody, and to give people more confidence in songwriting. That the hardest thing about songwriting is the like spark or the initial bit of the song. Once you get the song and you go to a studio, that's the fun bit, because you get to put all the bells and whistles on it and make it sound good and get the nice drums and do all that. But it's the initial like, what the fuck am I writing about? What am I, like, the narrative? That's why I started writing the book, was to try and build that narrative.
Yeah, and you found a perfect narrative.
What do you mean?
Dog saves everyone on ship.
Everyone loves
apart
dogs.
From him and the captain drowned. That's devastating.
But the whole thing is, throughout the book, what I wanted to do is like, so there's going to be like in the old reality, it's going to be like a power struggle, and like the main character's uncle, who at the beginning of the book you hear about, who he thinks committed suicide by jumping out of a window while shooting at the police. Didn't he actually went and crashed through to the other reality? But he was part of the power struggle, and so were the parents, against this alternate force in the other realm. And the kind of Gatsby guy is just this rich philanthropist, but who's also on that side trying to bring the son back in. But you want to like identify that he's a nice guy and that he's got like a good heart, and that's what that dog story does. But then again, I don't pre-plan necessarily anything. I kind of...
Really? I hadn't noticed that about you.
I kind of just try and watch the picture, watch the... Do you know what I mean? Watch the fucking...
See how it all plays out.
Yeah, I've no idea. Is that how people write books? Or is that one way?
I guess there are two ways. There's the by the seat of your pants way.
Which is what I say, yeah.
And there's the planning everything out way.
Mm-hmm. And people just have different ways of doing it.
For sure, yeah.
So next week, I'm going to try and actually write a schedule and do some fucking like ticks or something, and then just be like, how many of these can we hit?
And then you can treat yourself. Treat yourself.
Doing the podcast end at a weekend and... well, fuck me, there are hard things you could do in life.
I don't know, choose a treat for yourself. Maybe not caffeine.
No, or cigarettes.
Something that's not bad for you.
The saunas are still closed. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'll find some kind of treat. But the diet's going well. Last week I didn't say it, but I lost 9 pounds in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But I think a lot of that was water, because if you make sure you're actually hydrated, you then pass water that you're retaining. And
Healthy bladder, healthy kidneys.
Yeah, man, and that's what the doctor said. I've got those healthy kidneys now. And like you say, just trying to make the best of what we got.
What you got is great.
You heard it here first. So last night we watched B.B.King play Sing Sing, and it was fucking wild. And then afterwards we watched Johnny Cash in like a clip of Folsom Prison because they haven't got the whole thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
But what did you think, being somebody who, like, I've watched that Sing Sing thing a million times, and not really, because I just watched it. Well, I don't know. I kind of watched it for the story, but I want to see B.B. King play. That's what I enjoy, and I watched it for the musical side of it. But then last night we watched it. So the director, called
David Hoffman.
David Hoffman,
Yeah.
who went in and taught the prisoners how to like make film, like make movies and stuff like that. Because I think there was a fight or a shooting in a prison, and a load of prison inmates died and a load of police died, and it kind of affected him. And then he wanted to go in there and try to do something positive, and then he taught them to make film, and then what that led to is when B.B. King came into Sing Sing, they kind of did this documentary, but the inmates also filmed stuff too, and we watched it more from like the documentary point of view, didn't we?
Yeah.
So what did you think as somebody who doesn't watch, like, I just watched it for the, well, I primarily watched it for the music bit. What did you think watching it from start to begin and end and never seen it before?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
I think it, although I've listened to Folsom Prison, and I've seen like a few clips of it, the atmosphere or the stuff that is happening in Sing Sing was just so much more intense. Like, all the performers are kind of black or people of colour.
Let me just say from the scratch, so they were both max securities, we found out. So they were both equal level of mad dangerous.
Yeah, and they both have had executions carried out there.
So it wasn't like one was a fucking day prison.
Oh, no,
like where the Wolf of Wall Street man went, and like one was a max. They were both dangerous places. But sorry, go
on. But I think I noticed that it seemed like Sing Sing, the people who at that performance were majority people of color, like Latinx, Puerto Rican.
Because they said the Young Lords, a lot of Puerto Ricans from the gang, and this is like East Coast New York. Sing Sing, yeah.
And one of the members of the band had been in prison.
Yeah, because he says like, I think you know one of my players.
Yeah.
And it's because yeah.
So it seemed a lot more emotive, a lot more intense. Like near the end, you see like some of the members of the audience crying, like, you know, dangerous people. And I think there was so much more kind of, I definitely wouldn't have been comfortable as a person of colour or a woman of colour, like going into Sing Sing prison. I'd be worried they would never let me out. Do you know what I mean? And like, there's so much,
because that was the predominant performers who were there were yeah,
and there was a lot of like institutional racial stuff under the surface. Whereas with Folsom Prison, obviously June and Johnny Cash are like white, and also it seemed like the majority of the inmates who were at the performance were white as well. So it was just a very you still got that intensity between the performers and the audience, but they were saying different things.
Yeah, like we were talking about before, is that when Johnny Cash went in, he was singing to those inmates, and it was more of a like, I know you're here, I care about you. By the grace of God, I'm not fucking here, because it's basically because he was rich and successful that he didn't go to prison, and if he wasn't, well, no, but the guys in there were white. Yeah,
I see what you mean, but also if you compare it to...
Oh yeah, if you compare it to the Sing Sing thing, if he was of colour, he would have definitely been fucking put in prison, even if he was probably rich, because he would probably been put in prison. But what I'm trying to say is that in the Johnny Cash one, it's kind of like he's going in there and saying, I know you're there, I acknowledge you, I care about you, and he performs to those people. And that's like a super heavy topic, and it is very, very validating and extremely, like, it's one of my favourite albums. However, in the B.B. King and Sing Sing thing, from what I could see and you know, understand, all of that was happening, plus all the racial stuff, plus all the I don't think necessarily all of them were, but I'm sure there was some racism between the guards and the inmates, and the fact that there was a difference. But they also had a mixed establishment there, staff establishment, which is a positive, I suppose. But again, it was kind of like, in a way, I understand that Johnny Cash would have been a signal that they could do better in their lives, because he plays one of the songs that an inmate writes in that thing. In the Sing Sing one, maybe it's even more of like, fuck, somebody who has even more stacked against them has made it. And like when we were watching it, and there were these fucking full-grown dudes who were like dangerous dudes were like crying, and you're like, fuck. But I think it was kind of a communal. Everyone was cool with it because everybody was feeling the same thing.
Yeah, and I think because you also had, the member of the B.B.King band who'd been in prison. I can't remember what the female performer's name is, but I think her partner had been in prison. And
and she isn't in the video either, so it's hard to
you don't
they
see her
cut that
perform.
out.
But I just got, and I think they all did it. David Hoffman approached me and they were like, "Yeah, we'll do it for free." So
yeah.
So I got the impression that they're part of a broader social conversation about race and politics and incarceration and that kind of thing, and poverty is the sense that I got. And that might also have been the case for the false imprisoned one, but it was less obvious. Although Johnny Cash does say, like, when the doors close behind them,
there's a sense of
finality.
Yeah, man. And again, it's like Johnny Cash was basically like, fucking A, I'm not that far from being you guys. But it was just fascinating to watch. And B.B. King's performance is fucking unreal. Yeah. And yeah, it was, and we weren't going out on a kind of, let's look at how the racial differences in prisons were in the 70s. I was like, this is a really good performance. Yeah, because Live at the Regal isn't on YouTube. So we just put it on. And the other thing that got me was, like, irrespective of race of the inmates, I said to you, and again, I don't know if this is just because I'm weird, but it was when the inmates did their own bit and they were doing their own videos, and it was kind of like all these people and all these lives, and they all meant something to somebody, and it kind of just gave me a perspective of, like, how many millions of people, because all those people are dead, who were in that video, and you're just like, there's millions of people that live lives and they got locked up and they're dead, and for good or right or wrong, or if they were the fucking, you know what I mean, whatever. And it just gives you that perspective of, like, fuck, man, there's just so many lives when you think about, like, your bubble of your friends, your family, who you know. And then you kind of have this social media sheen of, like, famous people you never meet, but you kind of know of.
Yeah.
But then there are all these fucking faces in the world that it just fascinates me, especially when you look at old footage.
What I really enjoyed about it was that kind of the sort of behind the scenes stuff that you see with B.B. King. So it goes from, like, when he wakes up in the morning to the end of the performance.
Oh, and he wakes up in the fucking silk kimono.
Yeah, silk
yeah,
pajamas.
Baby.
And he's like, I don't know.
Big Kane knows what's up. Sorry.
Yeah, he's like, I don't really have the energy, but I'll get it going.
Yeah, man.
And he's choosing, like, picking out his tie and his outfit and stuff, and saying, like, oh yeah, the inmates will, maybe they'll like that one. Yeah, I'll wear that one.
And it's all with empathy. Yeah. Like, when he's saying, he's very compassionate, and I think. I mean, I don't know what the fuck the guy was thinking, but it looked like it was a heavy thing on him as well, going through it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was sick, and he plays the same guitar as I do. For want of a better description, he doesn't actually, but
that's why we really watched it.
I was like, that's what it sounds like when somebody better than me plays it.
Yeah, B.B. King, man.
But anywho, that was wild.
It was wild. I'm really glad you showed it to me, actually.
And I'd love to get a DVD and actually watch the Johnny Cash one properly, because, like I said, I've only ever listened to the album a million times.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to watch.
And we watched a few little clips and to try and see the difference in the prisons. And we didn't try just to watch, because I was like, I want to watch the Folsom Prison one now. But wild. And the best thing I love about the Folsom Prison album is that I think the Beatles released an album at the same time that Johnny Cash, or like the Beatles had like a number one that couldn't come off the top charts or some shit. And then Johnny Cash came out and fucking knocked him off with an album of him recording in the prison after he gave up drugs. And I was like, yeah, Johnny boy, yeah. And I like the Beatles, but at the same time, it was just that kind of...
I mean, everyone likes the Beatles. The Beatles are the Beatles. But Johnny Cash is Johnny Cash.
Do you know what I'm saying? And anyway, yeah, man, I just thought that was worth talking about. Because if you haven't watched it, fucking A, go and watch it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend.
B.B. King at Sing Sing.
But there are two other acts. There's a group that performs, and also I think a woman who's like a solo act, but the women's act wasn't in the video that we watched, and I can't remember what the is it like the Harlem Singers or something maybe it's something like that, but they were really, really good as well. And so it was amazing, definitely
worth a watch. I'm super happy that it's on YouTube. Anyway, I'm going to quickly go to the I'm sorry I didn't do it last week. I know I suck. Which was the double, which was last week, which was Muddy Waters, and it was the second half of that album. And it was great. And some of my favourite songs in it was like, there's a song called Evil, which was really, really good. And where did I put my phone? Yeah, man. So the Chessbox collection, I think the song... So, sorry, man. So I was useless last week. With the new song and the rest of it, I forgot to add it on the end. So the double from last week was Muddy Waters, the Chessbox, the last couple of discs. Sick again. It was kind of later on, and there were songs on there I didn't know, like She's Into Something, or like Evil especially was that's the best song that I heard on there that I didn't know, which is like, man, what was it? It was like, he can scare the fur off a bear and make him a wig, and like there was just some great lines in it, and I sent it to Louis and he was like, this is the fucking best shit I've whatever heard in a long time. So that was really good. So this week it's something new for me, which is kind of cool. So we are going to be listening to Elizabeth Cotton, folk song and instrumentals. And then after that, we've got Alfie King, Born Under a Bad Sign. Pete kept going. James at Last, Magic Sam, West Side Soul. Okay, so we've got a few left. So next week, I'm just going to keep it, instead of doing double, we're working it here, man. We're all learning something. I'm just going to go for Elizabeth Cotton, folk songs and instrumental, just to keep it down.
I like folk songs. And also...
sea shanties.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for being a guest on my podcast again, Andrea.
My pleasure.
And hopefully soon we'll have more interesting, fun things about gigs and things coming up, because I'd like to be able to get out there in the world.
I'll prepare something interesting for next time.
Oh, I didn't mean like that. Oh, no.
No, I know what you mean.
106 miles Chicago, gotta get there for dawn. Come on, now, brother, you won't ride long. 106 miles, baby, hope you got some stories to tell. 106 miles.